All right, everyone, welcome to Findable and Authentic Bios, our session for today, led by Nadine Hydro. In a relationship based industry, our online presence matters more than we recognize. And while most people know that impact when it comes to social media, we often forget that our bios matter just as much. So often, this is one of the first glimpses people get in terms of potential clients with relation to who we are and how we show up in the world. But if we're using the same outdated one across all platforms, or even worse, if we don't have one altogether, we're missing out on the opportunity to connect, to deepen, and to draw in new business because our bios aren't just speaking to people, they are speaking to search engines. In this session, we're going to talk about all of that, how to draft bios that address our ideal client, are authentic to us, and are focused on SEO so that you can show up online and people are going to learn who you are. And when they're searching, you're getting that return on investment. Nadine, thank you so much for doing this today. We can't wait to learn from you.
Thanks so much, Katie. So I'm going to share my screen here. One second. Can everybody see my screen? Okay. I don't see it. What do you see? Do you see a presentation or
Yeah, we see the optimized bios
you
like
do? Okay.
verbiage.
Okay, great. So this is something I'm really excited to work through with you guys because this is something I am personally in the middle of fixing. Just like Katie said earlier, I noticed online that I had an old firm listed on LinkedIn and things to that sort. And that is very important for optimization because when AI is screening all of your bios, they want to see consistency. So I am in the middle of doing that as well. I think as realtors, we get so bombarded with all the other things that we tend to neglect our bios and just our overall presence online. So we're going to talk about what bios are not. I want to say it's safe to say that at one point bios felt a little bit more like a resume or an about me. It is no longer that type of structure. Things are always evolving and changing, especially when it comes to online and technology. Bios currently, and I say currently because who knows what it'll be like next year, but currently bios are for search engines to screen you, right? I think we are all using some type of AI to get the job done faster, to provide resources for us, and just to come up with a bunch of data. And so, because of that, bios are being used for search engines to screen you. And your bio should then be very clear on who you are, who you serve, where you serve, what you do, and why you are different. And if it doesn't do that, then it's very hard for Google, ChatGPT, and Perplexity to place you correctly in other AI search engines as well. And we'll go over some examples a little later. Um, I'm freezing up a little bit, or you guys are freezing up. Can everybody hear me okay?
We can hear you. You're lagging just a touch, but it's barely.
Okay. Okay, great. So, three pillars every bio must contain: your identity, your audience, and your differentiator, right? So your identity is who you are professionally in plain language, because a lot of these bios have character restrictions, which you could also use AI for. So sometimes if I'm putting a bio, like curating a bio, and it kicks back and says, this is too long, it has too many characters, what I'll do is go on ChatGPT and say, hey, I'm curating a bio for LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook, and I need to keep it under 120 characters. And I will put in what I want and have them condense it. So your identity, saying you're a real estate agent or realtor is a little weak. Um, they want to know exactly like what type of realtor you are. I know niching down sounds so scary. It's very intimidating because we think we can help anybody. We can help relocators, upsizers, downsizers, investors, but when it comes to marketing, when it comes to bio, when it comes to content, you need to have a very clear message and be speaking directly to your ideal client avatar. Okay, so if your ideal client avatar is a relocator, if that's someone you enjoy working with and you want to speak more to, then you need to claim yourself as the relocation specialist, right? Instead of just the real estate agent. Clearly, you can help people who are local, but this allows people who are relocating to find you. So that's just an example. Relocation specialist or upsizing specialist or 55 plus senior specialist. That's more of an identity of who you are, what type of real estate agent you are, and the type of clientele that you serve. And then your audience, right? So if you are a senior specialist, you might be marketing a lot of 55 plus or downsizing, right? These are all important keywords that you want to add. And so when your message is unclear and you're talking to so many people, Google doesn't know how to place you. ChatGPT doesn't know how to place you or read you or what title to give you for that matter. And then your differentiator, right? What makes your approach meaningfully different? Because we are in a service industry, like Kate was saying. And so keep in mind, once again, you're talking to your ideal client avatar, right? So are you very meticulous, A type? Maybe you score a high D and you have all these tasks, checklists. Maybe you would want to market yourself that way and speak that lingo. Or are you easygoing, right? Can somebody meet you at a property and sign a 1 day showing agreement? Easygoing, no pressure, all these types of things matter. Especially in today's day and age, because our algorithm is very smart and its job is to learn us, learn our behavioral patterns, what we like, what we don't like. And so the reason that it does that is so that our feeds are curated to meet who we are individually. They don't want to show us things that don't match what we are into, or what we don't like because they want to keep us on these platforms longer. Now, I want to talk a little bit about SEO, AEO, and GEO. And I won't get too deep into it. I know we're really going over SEO, but I would be doing a huge disservice to not mention AEO and GEO as it's a big part of the search engine today, and the way things are evolving, right? So, SEO stands for search engine optimization, and what it needs basically are keywords. So your job title, your service location, etc. Now, one thing I've learned, and I am not an SEO specialist or AEO specialist by means, but I have consulted with a few and I've learned a few interesting things. One interesting thing that I learned is that certain places will shadow ban you for using certain words or what they call keyword stuffing. There are some areas when it comes to your website that allows you to keyword stuff. And if you keyword stuff outside of those designated areas, it actually like shadow bans your page and punishes you. Yes, Allison, I'm happy to share them. Um, Now let's talk a little bit about AEO. This is a little newer with the whole AI search engine now. But it's very important because a lot of people now, instead of going just to Google, they're going straight to AI. Um, like ChatGPT, whatever. Even Google has kind of changed its search engine where you will see AI all the way at the top. I've so AI tools are trained to answer questions like who is the best realtor in Raleigh? Who helps military families buy homes in North Carolina? Who specializes in upsizing in Clayton? This is why it's very specific to kind of niche down and speak to a specific avatar. Not because you can't help others, but because for the sake of your search and being searchable, you need these keywords, this identity, and these indicators of who you are and what your title is, right? Um, Now we're going to talk a little bit about GEO, Generative Engine Optimization. This is how you show up in AI generated summaries. AI pulls clear claims, repeatable phrases, structured sentences, and consistent positioning across the web. Another interesting thing that stuck out to me when I was consulting a Google rep was that you get penalized when you write things differently. So, for example, they were saying, Nadine, the way that you write your office address on your Google business profile should match the way it's written in your website. And it should match the way it's written in LinkedIn. Because if it doesn't, then Google flags it as not the same address. So, for example, some people will write out the word suite, other people will abbreviate it. Another example she gave me was when you are writing your phone number, some people will use a period, others will use a dash, some will use parentheses, and that also flags Google as this is not the same. Um, okay, let's move on. Oh, and let me go back and touch on something. Now, I believe this is changing, but when I first started to learn about AEO, I actually had I was masterminding with a few agents nationwide, and what they were doing was they were Googling themselves, putting themselves into the AI search, and they were asking like who is the best realtor and blah blah blah. And what they found was that AI was sharing agents who weren't necessarily the best. However, they had best agent in Raleigh in their Instagram bio or on their website. So AI is not always verifying information, which is why certain words are so important. Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit on how to structure a high performing bio without sounding robotic. I think we are all getting to the point when we can tell that we are reading something that was definitely crafted by ChatGPT. And what that does is we shut off, right? Because we already don't really feel like it's sincere and we are not able to find ourselves in generated, generic, vague content, which is why I always encourage people to show up and be yourself, have your personality and your content. But sentence number one should be very clear on what you do and where, right? I'm a real estate advisor based in Raleigh, North Carolina, specializing in relocation and move up buyers, okay? Um, Now, sentence number two, which feeds your AEO, it should be talking about who you help. So first it's who you are, which is what people want to know when they first meet you. How is this person going to solve my problems? If people are on the internet looking for someone, then they want to know, like, is this the right person? So after you share who you are and where you're located, you're going to share who you help, right? I help dual income families and professionals navigate buying and selling with clarity, strategy, and strong negotiation. Or you could say, I help busy business professionals with, um, different, maybe different loan types that like a 1099 would need, right? Like a statement loan or something like that. So these keywords, it sounds scary that you're niching, but you're not really niching. You could help anybody, but for the sake of being very clear on who you are and who you serve on the internet, you want to use words that niche you down. Sentence number three should talk about how you're different. This is the more human hook. Once they know, okay, this is the professional I'm looking for, they can serve my area, and I am the type of client that they help. Now it's like, okay, do we mesh? It's the vibe check, right? So your approach is an educational first, data driven, and built around protecting my clients' time and money. Whatever you want to say, you can say it there. Sentence number four is more proof of or process. This builds trust for humans and AI. So clients work with me through a structured, consulted, consa- uh, consultative process, not pressured based sales, right? This is the part where you can add more of your personality and sound more like yourself. Platform specific adaptation. Let's talk about your different bios, right? Maybe you're not on Instagram. Maybe you are. Maybe you're not on TikTok. Maybe you are. So for your Instagram bio, you want it to be very short. They do not give you a lot of characters. It needs to be skimmable and still searchable. So, like, if you find that you are on a few different platforms and you Google yourself, it will most likely pull up the platforms that you're on, whether it's YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. So here's an example of maybe not the best Instagram bio where it's like realtor, mom, coffee lover. And I'm so guilty of that. A more better one would be Raleigh, North Carolina real estate advisor, relocation and move up buyers, education over pressure. So you see how I was like, this example is able to share your location, right? Your service area, who you are, then who you help, and then your approach, what makes you different. Sometimes it feels overwhelming to get all that out in a few short words, but it is definitely possible. Your website bio, and like this is something I definitely recommend people reaching out to people who are, like this is their day job. This is what they do. This is their bread and butter because when I sat with um, a web designer, I was really, really surprised to see that the way you structure your website is so important. Like your heading, your title, your bio, like all of these things need to be curated in a certain way to actually help you pop up and your website pop up in Google, on Google. Your LinkedIn bio, clearly LinkedIn is known for a more professional tone, maybe networking in a different type.
Oh, Nadine, you're muted. Sorry.
What was the last thing you heard?
You were talking about working with someone and it showing up.
Okay. So yeah, so I highly recommend reaching out to a web designer and having maybe a one-to-one, picking their brain a little bit, because I was very surprised to see that you can actually get punished if you use the same word in the wrong place too many times. So when it comes to your heading, your title, and then your bios, like it's very important how it's all curated if you want to be searchable. Um, and then you kind of want to match the culture of the app that you're on. Instagram has a different culture than TikTok, and LinkedIn has a different culture than TikTok. It's probably that more professional, white collar type of culture, and you want to be shown as authority driven, more educational, perhaps. And then Google Business Profile too. Learning a little bit about that and what that algorithm wants. Every algorithm is essentially a different personality and they want different things. So, not to overwhelm yourself, yes, I would be happy to recommend one. Um, what I learned when speaking with a Google rep was, what Google wants to see and what they don't want to see, and how to structure your Google business profile, and how even leaving reviews for other uh, businesses helps you be more searchable. So, like, that really encouraged me to leave reviews for other people. And should you add a picture, and how many words should it be? And this is something too that you can probably help your clients, right? This was something that they mentioned too, is that, hey, the way your clients leave you a review matters. And sometimes they need your guidance. So, if you helped somebody relocate, Have them specify this in your review. Nadine helped me relocate from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to Raleigh, North Carolina, and she was great. This was her approach. These types of things really matter and help you become more searchable. Um, we're going to talk about how AI and search engines actually read their online presence. AI and search engines cross-check. I kind of went over that a little bit, how the way you write something in one place should follow through to the next place. Now, some areas you get to write a little bit more than others. Your message should still be the same. You're still this professional in this area, specializing in this specific niche, helping this specific client, right? And you can do that in like 20 words and you can do it in 150. Um, AI and search engines cross-check your website bio, your Instagram bio, your LinkedIn headline, your Google business profile, featured interviews, captions, and about pages. And this is why, like, I had somebody ask me a while ago, like, does it really matter what your captions say? Like, people don't really read them. And maybe people aren't reading them, but AI definitely is. So it does matter what your captions say. And you can get very clear on that with your content. If they see conflicting niches, vague language, or trendy phrases with no substance, there's no validity there. So AI is not going, possibly will not show your profile. They reward consistency. How to use ChatGPT correctly. So most agents, much like myself when I started using ChatGPT, it's like write me a bio for blah blah blah. And with that generic prompt, you're gonna get a generic response. So instead, you want to give it instruction in detail. I always tell people, think of ChatGPT like your trusted assistant. Like they cannot read your mind. You're hiring them and you're teaching them their role with responsibilities and you're giving them instruction. ChatGPT functions the same way. So instead of saying, write me a bio, you can say, help me write a real estate bio for blank location who specializes in specific niche. The bio should clearly state who I help, what problem I solve, and how my process is different. Write it in plain language that works for SEO and AI search without sounding salesy. I think that has become the issue. A lot of people are now on ChatGPT or using AI search engines. And I think what the problem is now is that everything is sounding the same. There's no personality behind it. So take what AI gives you and maybe drop a few words that don't sound like you. If that's a word that you never use, if it's a keyword, keep it. But if the other like filler words don't sound like you, then maybe drop that or add some. Um, and so yeah, so you can take it, refine the tone, tighten the language, remove fluff, and adapt per platform. And that's pretty it, you got pretty much it, guys. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Do you guys have any questions? I know somebody asked about the slides, which I will send to you, Kate.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I guess my only question would be, I know a lot of people pulled their bios before they came in today. What would you recommend they give in terms of a prompt for ChatGPT in terms of uploading those and kind of pairing them with the prompt that you just gave?
Yeah, so one thing that I love to do is I love to have ChatGPT roast me. I'm like, tell me where I can be better. Act like my Tom Ferry coach, I always tell it. So you can go on ChatGPT and say, act as an SEO, GEO, and AEO specialist and audit my bio and tell me where it's weak and tell me where it's strong, right? So you can upload your bio from LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Screenshot it, upload it, give it that prompt, and then see the feedback that it gives you. So you can start thinking a little bit differently when it comes to content. Um, and then you can just tell it, okay, and I think I said this like a bazillion times today in different ways. You want it to talk about, and let me go back to this slide because it's very clear here what your bio should contain. What you do, right? Where you do it matters because if people are looking near me and they're in Clayton, then it's going to pull, right? So I am a real estate advisor or relocation professional um in Clayton, North Carolina. Right? Because there's a Clayton in California, I think, or whatever. So you really want to make sure that you use like your full location. Um, and in the example it gave here too, it said that I am a real estate advisor based in Raleigh, North Carolina, specializing in relocation and move up buyers, right? So what you do, where you do it, who you help, how you're different, and proof of your process. So that's what your bio should contain. So what you can do is you can screenshot your bio after you say, "Hey, audit me," and you can say, "Now make my bio sound like this," right? Have these key sentences in my bio for LinkedIn. And in order to give it that instruction, you have to be really clear on who you are, who you're talking to online. That's the biggest problem I see with, agents is that they want to speak to everybody. That doesn't work well today, right? Because with AI and searching, it's looking for keywords, it's looking for niche, Like I market towards relocation professionals. But like that's not when I look at my closed deals, like that's not the only people that I serve, but that's who I want to serve, right? I want to use my own relocation story to serve those and sell my experience that way. That's my unique approach, and that's how it makes me different, right? So you really have to be clear on who you're talking to, who you want to specialize in, and what your message is, and is your value proposition like the way you're marketing it, is it speaking to who you want to like market to? So I would just say like getting clear on your client avatar is very important.
What questions do you guys have? You have an amazing resource available. You guys think of anything, feel free to unmute. Nadine, this was so wonderful. It was so interesting because my first thought was initially heading into this, the thought that it might be helpful to drop little nuggets of who you are in slightly different ways across different platforms. But then that was almost the first thing that you said was, no, it needs to be consistent because it needs to see that consistency. So that's really helpful. Obviously, character count and things like that matter in consolidating and expanding, but you're not really using these as an opportunity to kind of expand what people know about you. You're actually like honing in on exactly what you're saying, just in different ways. In the chat,
Well,
a number of people have the same question. Sorry, I'm just like
okay.
sharing the website.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so the one of the website people that I've interviewed so many because I am very like picky. Um, I met with this woman named, she's local. Her name is Janelle, and her business is called Guppy Gigs. I liked her approach. She's very education based, which that is one of the pillars of my business. She's also very customer service based, which is another pillar of my business. So she just speaks my language naturally, which is why I feel drawn to her. And if anybody wants her information, like I will add it in the email that I send you the slides. Um, but I wanted to touch base on something that you just said about, you know, sharing a little bit about who you are in different ways. This is why content matters because AI is not just skimming your bio. It's skimming your captions. And so I always tell people like don't get lost in not writing a good caption just because you think nobody's reading it. Does it matter if people are reading it or not? What matters is that you can put keywords in that caption, and that can help AI identify who you are and recommend you to people who are looking for your specific business and your service, your niche.
Absolutely. Gone are the days where people need tips on how to make it through due diligence. They want to see your heart and they can easily Google that stuff. They want to know kind of how you show up in the world. Thank
And
you.
that also allows you to talk about how your process differs from others.
Yeah. Thank you so much for doing this today. I know it was a nice, short, and sweet one with a ton of info. So, my advice to those of us that are on here is take those 30 minutes that we would have blocked for the rest of the session and go ahead and start working on this. See what you can get cranked out today. As soon as I've got those slides, we'll get that out to you. We'll get the recording out. I made sure to take some notes, so I'll include some stuff as well. But thank you guys for showing up today. Nadine, thank you so much for
No
such a wonderful
problem.
session. Your knowledge is so valuable. Appreciate y'all. Have a great day.
Absolutely. Have a good one, you guys. Bye.
Bye.